It's January 30th, and welcome to YesToHellWith.com. If you want to understand what a lawful status-based excise tax actually looks like, you need an example where Congress does everything openly. It defines the status, limits the class, identifies jurisdiction, and lets obligation follow. A clean example is the Special Occupational Tax on certain firearms businesses. The taxing statute is 26 U.S.C. 5801. This is not enforcement. This is not regulation. This is the levy itself. The tax imposed, the statutory text, 26 U.S.C. 5801A states, there is hereby imposed on each importer, manufacturer, and dealer in firearms a special occupational tax at the following rates. 1. Importers, manufacturers, and dealers in firearms other than destructive devices, $1,000 a year. 2. Importers, manufacturers, and dealers in destructive devices, $1,000 a year. That is the tax. Congress is not taxing income. Congress is not taxing transactions. Congress is not taxing people for existing. Congress is taxing a defined occupational status. Now let's look at when liability attaches. Statutory text. The statute continues. It says 26 U.S.C. 5801B, the tax imposed by subsection A shall be paid for each place of business for each taxable year. Pretty clear, isn't it? This matters. The obligation attaches to a place of business operated by a person engaged in the regulated occupation for a defined taxable year. No business, no tax. No occupation, no status. No status, no obligation. It's starting to make sense, right? So who is subject? Let's look at this statutory context. The terms importer, manufacturer, and dealer are not guesses. They are defined elsewhere in the National Firearms Act, including 26 U.S.C. 5845 and implemented through regulation. This means the class is narrow, knowable, provable, and limited by statute. The Liberty Dialogue's analysis and why this excise is lawful. This statute passes every Liberty Dialogue's test without strain. Number 1, authority. Congress has explicit authority to regulate certain classes of firearms, license and oversee regulated industries, impose excises on occupations within that domain. There is no authority gap here, no confusion. Let's look at jurisdiction. Jurisdiction does not arise from citizenship. It does not arise from residence. It does not arise from existence. Jurisdiction arises because a person voluntarily enters a federally regulated occupation. You were not born a firearms manufacturer or dealer. You choose to become one. That choice is the jurisdictional hook. Let's look at status. The tax applies only after a specific legal status exists, being an importer, manufacturer, or dealer in regulated firearms. That status is voluntary, defined by statute, tied to regulated activity, limited in scope. There is no presumption required. Let's look at number 4, obligation. Only after authority exists, jurisdiction is triggered by voluntary entry, status is established by conduct, does the tax obligation attach. That is the correct order. Authority, jurisdiction, status, obligation. Nothing is reversed. Nothing is assumed. So let's look at the core Liberty Dialogue's distinction. A real man or woman is not taxed by their mere existence. A legal role is taxed by statute. Section 5801 governs a status Congress created and regulates. It does not claim ownership over the living man or woman. This is why the Liberty Dialogues do not oppose excise taxes. The Liberty Dialogues opposes status by presumption and jurisdiction by silence, or should we say force. This excise works because the status is defined, the class is limited, jurisdiction is voluntary, and obligation follows structure. That is law functioning properly. Now, let's conclude. The Special Occupation Tax under 26 U.S.C. 5801 is a lawful status-based excise because Congress explicitly taxes a voluntarily assumed, federally regulated occupational status and imposes obligation only after authority, jurisdiction, and status are established. Pretty clear. And as always, may truth reign supreme.